¿Se lo ha contado Lady Grantham?
No nos ha contado nada.
Por favor, sentaos. He heredado una villa en el sur de Francia.
¿Una villa?
Empieza por el principio.
Años atrás, antes de que nacieras, conocí a un hombre.
¿Pasan unos días juntos y él le regala una casa? ¿No te has planteado rechazarla?
¿Crees que yo rechazaría una villa en el sur de Francia?
Do you think Mr. Carson will ever know what the word retirement means?
No, it'd be a disaster if he retired. He'd hate to retire. No, he lives to work. He lives to serve the family. He's got no other interests outside the family other than vegetables. So he would happily die in harness. That would be what he'd want to do. He's butlers and actors never retire.
Did you two have any preparation of how cinema was made before, like the silence film, so you can prepare yourself for the character?
We did.
Yes.
We had a day, several of us spent a day or two with a film historian who taught us a little bit about exactly where silent movies were at the time and how that shift from silent films to sound happened and how quick and violent, not literally violent, but how sudden it was.
I did a lot of watching and reading and kind of dove into Norma Talmadge and her life and her experience of that transition from silent film into talkies.
She showed us a few clips just to give us a sense of, I suppose, how many films were being made then. There's a huge number of films being made. There were so many people working in that industry and so many people watching, going to the cinema, way more than now. And also how the artistry of the films, that they were really, even though we think of it as very basic, I suppose, that there was an amazing artistry involved.
And also just to kind of, get a sense of the style. Stylistically, I just wanted to understand how they, how emotions were portrayed on screen without dialogue, and so just watching physicality and you're just trying to get a general sense of how they were moving and how things were expressed without using words.
That was one of the more interesting things about the movie for me.
I looked at Ronald Colman and lots of film stars like him who I'd never heard of before and who I hadn't really watched any of those films, and I know that at the time they worried that when the talkies came in that the art of acting would be severely compromised. It wouldn't be as good now that everyone could hear you speak. And it's very interesting seeing why they thought that. And in some ways you can see why they thought that, why there was an amazing sort of style that they had and an ability to convey things through their face and their bodies that maybe being able to speak, it's not as necessary. And is it more melodramatic? What is it about? Because there is a qualitative difference in some ways in silent movie acting. And that was very interesting to explore.
So Tom and Lady Edith, they have a lot of tough situations during the show, but they are quite happy now. Do you miss some of that drama?
I don't know. I mean, there's still enough drama to keep us going through this movie, I feel like, but it's nice to see them happy. I feel, Edith had so much drama through the series that I would be so devastated if Julian made her unhappy again. Yeah. But you can sort of see her flying now, I think, in this movie.
They also evolve a lot. So what do you like the most about your characters now?
Oh, good question. I like the fact that Tom has always stayed quite true to himself, who he was. He has great integrity and has tried to make the world around him adapt rather than he had to adapt too much.
Yeah, I love that Edith is a sort of working woman. I think that's such a cool part of her story. And yeah, we see that in this movie. She gets back to writing, which is great fun to see.
In the movie, when Anna first met Myrna, she's a little bit disappointed. Never meet your heroes, I think you say it in the movie. Did you have any experience like that? Wanting to know someone and then they are like, nah.
Well, if I did, I wouldn't be telling you right now.
But I definitely can't tell you then. I'll tell these guys later.
I met Elton John and I couldn't. I thought I'd be able to handle it and I couldn't. So I backed up and bowed. I bowed away from him and then decided, go back in there. It's Elton John. So then I went back in and I said, I'm really sorry about that. It's just that I feel like I'm meeting the Pope. And then I asked him if I could kiss his ring, and he didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't go down.
He called
very well.
security.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, just another actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I've met a few. But we can't say.
Yeah, but we
who.
can't say who they are.
I met a man the other day who was a bit of a hero of mine. He wrote a book called The Thoughtful Gardening, or The Thoughtful Gardener, and it's an amazing book about gardening. And I happened to bump into him. He's also a Don at Oxford and Oxford College, and I happened to bump into him, and I introduced myself, and he sort of physically went like this, and walked away. And I thought it was not very thoughtful gardening of you, is it? So that was hugely disappointing.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think he's a real jerk now. I don't like him at all. I'm throwing his book in the bin.
What were you trying to do to him for him to do
I just
that?
said, look, I love your book, Thoughtful Gardener. I think it's brilliant. I think you're so... And he went, and stormed off in the other direction. I said, well, that's charming, isn't it? What a charmer.
A charming gardener.
Charming gardener.
I can't think of an example. We were saying earlier that we've been really lucky because we get all these new people that visit us and we always have a really nice time. We've had such cool people. I mean, these guys even had George Clooney. I didn't meet George Clooney.
I did a scene.
Oh, did you not meet him?
And now I've got an actor who I don't remember the name of, but he was absolutely gorgeous. And somebody forced me to have a photograph with him. And what my disappointment is that he's tall, handsome, brilliant actor. Can't remember his name. And I was
Kevin Doyle.
Kevin Doyle. Yeah. And I was sort of so like, I had no neck and looked like a small pig. That was disappointing. It wasn't his fault. Let's see if I can remember his name. So that was the disappointment. The disappointment was my face.
So how much fun was to finally be able to dress in huge costumes and makeup and everything? That scene seems like a present to the cast and to the the characters both.
Yeah, that is so true. There's this lovely moment where Mrs. Hughes and Mrs. Patmore come down the stairs in their finery, and that is just such a beautiful moment for the characters and the actors to get to do that and walk into that grand room and sit at the table. I think it was a bit of a treat for all of us.
Well, obviously I can't say too much about that, but yes, the servants do explore other areas of themselves in this film. That sounds very wrong.
I think you should just tell the truth.
I've never had costume fittings that were so fun, and I had to have a few of them, whereas before it's just, does your dress still fit you? Oh, yes, it does. Well done. Bye. Whereas this was like they were bringing things in it, because I think it had already been used, that dress, but they were making it with, real flowers and then putting them in your hair and, all of that. So, you're a princess for a day. And when I was little, that's what I wanted to be on the telly for, just to be a princess.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, we've done so many serving scenes there. So it was nice to be on the other side of it.
Oh dear.
And also the nice thing of that scene in particular is the servants' reaction to the actual scene being filmed around them, because they were extras, weren't they? And just to see everyone's reaction was hilarious, particularly Brendan. Again.
Yeah. We've been here all day. We're going mad.
I think as actors, we're used to obviously putting on costumes and pretending to be somebody else. So for us as actors, I don't think it was much more than a sort of normal day at work. But the downstairs characters definitely had fun exploring themselves.
Hugh, how was for you to step for the first time in the Highclere class? Sorry, I don't know how to say the name. Highclere Castle.
Yeah,
good.
It was incredible. It was maybe the most striking moment for me of the whole thing. Just arriving on the first day, I drove myself up, and it takes you 10 minutes to drive. Once you get in through the gate, you think I've arrived, and then it's a 10-minute drive through the fields and past the sheep and so on and so. And there it is, and it's an amazing. It's even more amazing in person, that house. And I think the most amazing thing about it is the approach, right? The outside.
Yeah.
What do you envy the most about the other plot?
That's a good question.
They had a lot of fun with that movie
Yeah.
within a movie, and I think that would have been really nice to be part of.
Yeah.
I don't think Hugh envied anything that I was doing. I was stuck in England and it was pouring with rain, and Hugh was in the south of France in Saint-Ouen-le-Pin, having a lovely time.
Do you know, and Alexander McQueen, who plays the sound engineer, he is so funny. And we did get to meet him around the set, but I felt like I didn't see enough of his scene. So I wish.
Dixon!
So funny.
And we sent you lots of pictures of us in the sunshine
Yes,
to cheer you up.
You kept sending us pictures, which was sort
We
of
felt
rather
so
cruel, actually.
They were sending us pictures of beautiful swimming pools and views, and we were getting a bit jealous.
We can't say that we didn't win the prize because
We got
like
to go to
South
the
of France
South of
won.
France.
Yeah.
We love the relationship between Isobel and Violet, but for you, what was your personal favorite part of it?
I didn't have a favorite part of it. I found the whole relationship very interesting, and I liked the sparring we had with one another. I think our sort of trench warfare that we had with one another, throwing grenades early on across a big space, and then we started to we got out of the trench and sort of shook hands and became friends. And after that, things weren't exactly easier, but they were certainly more fun. I think they grew to be very, very fond of one another and confide in each other. So actually, the relationship in the film is one of great warmth and affection.
And how was working with the director, Simon Curtis? Because, I don't know, it's weird when you know the characters even better than the director itself.
I think that Simon really understood that everybody has lived with their character for so long that he would never assume that he would know anybody's character better, but I think he felt that he could help every actor find a way to do what they wanted to do in the best possible way. So that for me is the sign of a really good director, is that he watches and sees and brings out the best in somebody rather than impose his own ideas on a person's work.
But Simon in particular feels like he knows kind of every little detail about the show. He's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it is an amazing dynamic where you have kind of more experience of that world than they do. That's kind of unusual, isn't it? But
every now and then it's a pair of different eyes who've not been so involved in it for the last 10 years can throw up something for your character that you've not thought about because you're right in the middle of it. They can be objective and look from the outside and give you and he was good at doing that, Simon Curtis, the director, giving you a little, have you thought about doing this? It might be a nice little touch for your character. So also he'd done his research and he was very thorough in his research. He knew everything about Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I think, well, the great thing is with Simon, we've known him for so long and he's been around since the very start, obviously, because he's married to Elizabeth McGovern. So he's always been there. So in a way, I actually think that Simon knows the characters nearly as well as we do. Yeah. And he certainly would challenge you if you ever came up with an idea that you had he didn't agree with. He'd be like, well, that's not right.
Yeah.
And he was able to quote lines and scenes and you'd go, maybe you're right on this one, Simon. Like this one.
Simon came to visit us all. I think he visited us all individually before the film, which is very rare for someone to do, to talk to us about the script, any ideas or reservations we might have about the script. And so we felt we were in the hands, I mean, I know I'd worked with Simon in the past, so we felt we were in the hands of somebody very caring, very well prepared, and he brought a very cheerful and happy atmosphere to the film set, which was great. He was a very positive influence, which we appreciated enormously.
Well, and I was just hugely disappointed on the day that Elizabeth tried to get him fired.
Yeah, that was bad.
So unnecessary.
English humor.
Thomas is one of the characters that changed the most during the show. What do you like about him now?
I like the fact that he's on some level, he's kind of resolved the conflict within himself. He seems to be in a happier place. I like the fact that he's progressed and he's reached where he wanted to get. He wanted to be butler, and I like the fact that his ambitions have been recognised. And now we're down to the sort of last chapter, whether he can find companionship or find love, if he can find a way to make that work. And I think this film looks at that to see whether it's possible within the context of the time.
The movie was a success, a huge success in the whole world. At least in Spain was huge. Did you expect that? And how did you receive the news that you were going to do a sequel after you say goodbye to the characters 2 times?
I think it's safe to say that Focus Features, who financed the movie, and we're very grateful to them, were a little unsure about what they had taken on originally. I remember them coming to visit us on the film set of the first movie, and one of them had bought the box set of the TV show and was beginning to watch it. And some of them, weren't familiar with the show. Some of them were, but they were very cautious about what they'd taken on. Would this TV show transfer to the big screen? They're very different, or obviously complementary markets. And I think, Gareth Neame, our executive producer, said, I don't think Focus realizes how loyal our audience will be. And it was proved. And it became Focus's biggest ever success, internationally as well as, certainly domestically. And its popularity around the world has been, hugely gratifying for us. So when the word came out that there were plans to make a second movie, again, one thought, is it going to be possible to get everybody back together again? But where there's a will, there's a way, especially if there's a massive paycheck.
The first one was such a bonus, and then to do another, we were all desperate to come back and work together. I think we love working together, so yeah, we were really excited.
Often when you're doing a film or if you're starting a new series, you hope it's going to be good and that people are going to like it, but there is a different feeling when you're walking into a project which is already established and has a big fan base and always delivers on a certain quality. So that was, in a way, some of the pressure off.
As outsiders, why do you think Downton Abbey resonate with so many people and is such a success even outside United Kingdom, everywhere?
Oh yeah, it's just, it lets you go on such a journey and feel all the different things that you want to feel.
I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I've totally gone. Right, I'll let you answer your question. Right.
I think they'll be highly entertained. I think Julian said he hoped that people would be entertained by the movie. It didn't have any deep psychological depth, although all the characters have their problems and their good sides and their bad sides, but he hoped that the story would be a good story and that people would be entertained.
Yeah, I think he's sort of outdone himself again. It's really a fun adventure for all these characters.
The way I would describe it is that it's a movie that takes you in its arms and it lifts you up. That's how I felt when I saw it. It's both funny and sad.
It's fun seeing characters in different territory. Yes. I certainly enjoy seeing characters like Carson in France. Oh gosh, in his wool suit, he refuses to get out of his his usual attire. It's very funny.
And after everything everyone's been through over the last 2 years with the pandemic, after the horrible things that are happening in Eastern Europe now, I think there's a place for something that's purely entertaining. There's just take 2 hours out of the world just to be entertained before stepping back into the kind of the horrors that we're seeing on our screens in other places.
I think we all need a little bit of escapism right now, and I think Downton has been that for so many people for so many years, so it's great to bring it back again.
I think if there's something about watching a film at the cinema, which is so amazing because you're watching with a lot of strangers, there's something really special about that, and something that I think we've missed over the last few years is sort of being together and watching something uplifting. I think it's the perfect film to go and see with family and friends, I think.
Oh, Julian's so brilliant at crafting this world. He is. He's so brilliant, and he lets you laugh, and he gives you space to feel empathy, and he's so brilliant at writing this lovely balance between drama and comedy, and just takes you on a journey in each episode or each film. And although it's a different era, there are things that are relatable. It's nostalgic, it's warm, it's he's really, really clever, and I don't know if there's anything else quite like it, but I certainly know from going into it, it gave me all the same. It gave me all the same feelings as I get when I watch it. It just feels warm, and like we're on a journey, and we're allowed to laugh and allowed to cry and allowed to feel all the things you want to feel. So I think that's probably.
I mean, it's reassuring as well, you know,
It is,
and not to make it sound bland, but it's reassuring not only because we've lived with these characters for so long, and this family and this house, and but also because coming out of the last few years, I look back on the early 2000s as a sort of a time of innocence, really, before COVID and Trump and everything, and that it's so reassuring that Downton's still there and comes back, and we can be with old friends.
Tú estás al timón. Ahora eres la capitana. Mejor que estén advertidos. Llegan los británicos.
Bienvenido a la Villa de las Palomas.
Un hermoso lugar.
Qué feliz debe estar.
Oh, cielo santo. ¿Quién es? La Lady Grantham con la que empecé a trabajar.
La abuela.
¿Por qué nos ha invitado?